So now the Martin asked me to talk about. He wanted to hear, because I'm I'm a pirate, so that's interesting first. And what the Pirate Party stands for is to work on the digital society. Basically, that's it. Is how to make a digital society which is human-based or humanistic or human-centric, and trying to avoid all the big brother stuff that we're building right now. That's basically it. So, and then when you're thinking about how to build a good digital society for the good of the human being, then you have to think a lot of things. And what is interesting with Bitcoin is that when Bitcoin arrived, I immediately noticed that the value of Bitcoin was built on everything which is important for a good digital society. So peer-to-peer network, consensus, open source technologies, cryptography, all these things are the fundamentals of a good digital society. And usually we're also being attacked by the current system. But for now, we had a tool where people listen differently, because then you tell them Bitcoin is money, and then people take you seriously about everything that's when you talk about money. Before, if you were trying to fight for a peer-to-peer network because we can download music, I mean, people don't care. They just want you to put you in jail and get the money for the big media company. They don't care, that. But now you're coming with something which is built on a peer-to-peer network, but it's making money. Oh, damn. I mean, it is producing money, and now the people are listening. So that's why it's interesting. So, of course, then there's also the privacy around. And so first Martin said to me, yeah, you need to talk about why privacy matter. And I said, no, I want to take how we are going to do it in Switzerland currently, and how in a very rational way we are implementing. And this is my approach, and this is something I will never talk on the channel, like the new channel compliance, for example, because it's part of the secret sauce of how Bity is working. But still, it's recorded, so it's okay. But it's an approach of how we deal with the current legal setup in Switzerland, and how we take advantage of everything that we can to make it reasonable and to actually mimic the normal way, because there is already a cash system right now, which is banknotes, and there is a crypto system, and we can use a lot of things. We can do a lot of things in a matter where we can protect our privacy. So, but first, quickly, so I'm Alexis, and I founded Bity. Wow, that's the reason. So I'm going to first quickly going on why we still should care. The why is, for me, two main reasons. The first reason is that, and that was a revelation I had for myself. I mean, I figured this out in 2014 or so, I think, and I even asked Rick Falkwinkel, who's the creator of the Pirate Party at that time. I said, but basically, hey, basically money is financial data. It's part of personal data. And he said, yeah, of course it is. And then he just went on. And for me, then there was big realization, because you have to. In our approach about digital society, the current approach separates personal data with financial data. People think it's two separate things, but actually it's financial data is part of the personal data. And it's actually a very strong part, and it's actually the strongest part, because basically is show me the money. Is when you are paying something, it's a data which is much more important, reveals much more about you than you would see than if you just like something, It does show real commitment, to the point that you can imagine you will look at someone, and this is a real case, who's purchasing things in a mall, and you can define if this person who was a young girl is actually pregnant, because she didn't. It's not about what she's looking, her interest is, but actually what she's buying. And when she's buying stuff, she will buy based on her needs and on her real needs usually. And they figured out in the US, there was Target figured out that this girl was pregnant before she knew about it. And in Switzerland, we heard a story. It's a rumor, but it's a story about some banks who made some experiments about the data, just looking at the data, and it seems logical that someone who's about to die, who is actually in his older age or sick or something, and feels that he's going to die, is going to reorganize his financial matters. And the bank can detect this. So they can actually detect who is going to die before it actually happens. So it shows financial data is one part of the personal data which has a specific value, because it shows it doesn't behave just on your will or lust or whatever. It shows that it shows something a bit else, and that's why financial data is really looked up. You have Visa made a deal right now so that they can connect between. If you look at the ad. If you go on Amazon, I think, and you don't buy on Amazon, but then you go on the shop and you buy with your Visa card, they can connect these two events. So this is for them very, very important. The second thing is happening in financial world is that you have this big reversal of claim right now. So the governments in general, and even in Switzerland is the case too, they have no clue what's happening. Okay, one about crypto, but also they are in their world where they're in a world which is getting more digitized, where there is a lot of pressure for them, and it's not all their fault, but there's a lot of pressure about transparency, about fighting terrorism, about fighting a lot of things, and about fighting corruptions, and they think they can achieve this by putting more transparency. And there is a lot of pressure, which is also tax pressure, actually, tax fights between, the underlying thing is tax wars between governments. But basically, we are forced into a world where the regulator wants to have public and transparent and all KYC'd and all AML system. So to the point where actually the whole system is reversed, and the basic of law that normally you are presumed innocent. You act on good faith, and if you want to attack someone, you have to prove he's guilty, and this is being reversed, that you have to prove you're innocent. So you go to the bank, and the first thing you have to do, you have to prove your whole life with documents and everything, and then you can start working. That's not the way it is. So we have to fight this, but we have to understand that this is not a fight which comes because of crypto. It's something that was already here, and now we have crypto as a tool. So yeah, so basically for multiple reasons, can be good, can be bad, doesn't matter, but they're doing it right now. Okay, so now, and then this is going to be, we're going to go into the how. How, as a person, as a company, we can work in Switzerland, and this is also like very limited to Switzerland. We can work to basically protect our privacy also in the financial way. So obviously the best strategy that you can have is you give no data. That's a golden rule in privacy. In privacy is you don't give any data. The problem is that there are tools where you can use to give any data, but when you don't share any data, it's a bit more complicated, of course, because you can you have to be really expert in doing things very complicated. You have to find some people who accept to make deals with you with like no data, but building trust for business, for example, you actually need to exchange something. So it's pretty hard, but you want to limit any data you give out. So that's the first thing you would try to do. And so, for example, for me, as a professional, I will always try to limit the scope of the data I ask to the scope that the law defines. I don't want to ask for more than this, And so I prefer have less data. It's also more secure for me not having too much data. The second strategy in the financial world, of course, is to use cryptocurrency. That's because if you use no data at all, because crypto is also data there. Basically, you're here. You maybe have cash, but that's it. So cryptocurrency to protect yourself online against for privacy matters is a good strategy. But again, it's a tool, and you need to use it because Bitcoin, is very transparent. You can see everything how it's flowing. So you still need some extra strategies to work on this. Okay, so I define two main things where we can work. One is through technology, and the other one is through legal hacking. Also, legal hacking, technology is anything we build. It's very powerful because the regulators, the states, and everything is always behind technology. So every time we build something, there is a time, and we can be very prescriptive in what we want to do. And Bitcoin is this. Bitcoin is something which comes out from nowhere. Let's say it comes out from the cyberspace, and it was not accepted, vetted by any government, any regulator, any state, whatever. So it really pushed them into another world, and that's good. Okay, so and we can push that further. So that's one, and the other one is through legal hacking. Is actually we still live in a place where there's human beings, and everyone has its own knowledge, and we still want to be in a society where we don't kill each other. So basically, there are some rules. They might not be perfect for everyone, but at least let's try to use them the right way, so that we can use those new technology and we can use them in a protective way. And there's a lot of things we can do actually. So when I say legal hacking, it's not about getting around the law or destroying the law or whatever, but it's about really using the law, how it's understanding the law. And, it's like hacking. You're like understanding the software, using it properly, maybe sometimes twisting it a little bit because the existing law is not made for the new technology or the new space. And sometimes it can trigger, and maybe we can push the right direction in terms of some of the law can change in the right direction. Okay, so now I'll just go through some points first about tech. So tech is pretty easy, the drill. We'll go more and more anonymous coins, So on the machine which is there, you have Monero, for example, and it's important to be able to have those coins which are available. It's not important just for exchange, for privacy, but actually these coins are going to be important, or the technology that these coins are using are going to be extremely important for voting and for other types of interaction in our society that we're going to have, because we need some of the non-financial transaction we have will need anonymity. And also for the same in financial, we need to be able to choose between anonymity and privacy. And what is interesting with Monero is that you have to choose to open it. It's closed by default, and then you choose to open it. So for example, if you have Monero and you come to see me, and I have to do my due diligence and to do my work of AML and everything, well, with your cooperation, we can open up the transaction and see that's a bit the idea. We can see what's happening, but no one from outside can see this without your consent. But if you want to open up, you can. So this is privacy by design, which is interesting. And of course, the other thing is about all the improvements that are being done in Bitcoin right now, Schnorr signature, and zero knowledge proof that will be built in, hopefully, in the years to come. And that will allow to do so in Bitcoin the other way around. The system will be by default open, but you can choose to close it, to make it anonymous, or to obfuscate it from time to time. So that's going to be very important. And the good part about this, so you have to know, people are really scared about it, but in Switzerland, FINMA never said anything about anonymous coins. A lot of people in the crypto space think that they're saying, yeah, they're afraid to use anonymous coin like Monero, for example, in some countries. But in reality, if you look a bit deeper, this country never mentioned that there's a difference between anonymous and non-anonymous coins. So FINMA, for example, never made the difference yet. They might be, but until now they didn't. And if they do, they have a problem because they will have to make different categories between the currency themselves, and at one point, all the transparent one will become anonymous too. So it's important to start using those anonymous coins, or to help moving to anonymous coins, to make this as a basis. Okay, so all of this, what I'm going to say, is only valid in Switzerland. Don't try this outside, because outside might give some other problems. So these are just examples. So the first thing we can say is, when it comes about money, you can stay low. Stay low. And it's actually in the ordinance of anti-money laundering ordinance. Basically, if you look at the Article 7, sorry, it's in blue, but I'll just show it to you. I have it here. Okay, so basically this Article 7, you see it here, it says which are the conditions you have to meet to be a financial intermediary, where you have to perform a lot of anti-money laundering laws and everything. You have to abide to the law. So if you're below these thresholds, basically you don't need to. And that's very important to know, because there are a lot of businesses who are starting and they say, oh, I'm not going to do anything before I have a license. And actually you can, but you need to know how. So, for example, you shouldn't earn more than 50,000 francs per year. If you can show that you are earning less than 5,000 francs per year, you can do buying and selling crypto for your friends. It's okay, as long as you don't have more than 5 million volume, 2 million volume per year. Okay, if you stay low in these things, then it's okay. So, for example, if you get a machine, if you have a restaurant and you take a Bitcoin machine, that's okay. You don't need a license. You just need to make sure that you don't go over 50,000 francs of profit and 2 million per year. If you want to manage the money, the Bitcoins of your friends and families, you can. Don't go over 20 people to manage, because if you go over 20 people, then you're a bank. You're supposed to be a bank, or you need some special authorization. So these are if you are dealing with any of those people, like your direct connection is as a family member, your friend, there's a bunch of people, huh? But basically, if you are working for any of those, your partner, you're up to the third level of connection in your family, then it's also exempt. You can be your family's broker if you want. You don't need a license. You can even make a small. You can work on that. Okay, so these are kind of examples which allowed for me, for example, in February 2014, to put a Bitcoin machine in Geneva. We put the first permanent Bitcoin machine, at least on the west side. There was one small machine before in Zurich. And we just put it there, and we make it work. And I just make sure we were not moving above these numbers. And it was okay, because no one knew about it, and we were not going to run but I kept all the things. And when FINMA came 6 months later, when I had my license, and they tell me, okay, since when are you active? I say, well, I'm active since there. I have my license here, but I can show you that the numbers match based on this law. And they were, yeah, no problem, fine. But they won't tell you. At the same time, you had some other companies who were asking FINMA, can I do Bitcoin? And they say, yeah, you have to follow the law, you have to follow anti-money laundering law and everything, and you need a license. But so people freaked out, and they didn't start. Sometimes they didn't start building the company. While if you know this, you can start working a little bit with it. Okay, so stay low, know the law, and stay low. That's the first thing that allow me to start the business. Okay, so second thing, this is much newer. It's since 1 year. We just talked about it. is you can use your Bitcoin. If you have Bitcoins, you can use it to build up your company, put it as capital. Okay? If you bring up capital to your company, well, again, normally, how would you build up a normal company? Let's say like this. If you want to build up a company in Switzerland, you would go to see a bank first. That's the first thing you do. You say, I want to open an account, but a dedicated account to put my seed money on there. Once you put the seed money, 20,000, 100,000 Swiss franc, you go to see the notary, and the notary receives the document from the bank, and then you can go to the registrar, the business registry, and you can sign. So the bank, of course, they need to do a full KYC. They need to onboard you as a client, and they have all these obligations. Okay? But in reality, in the law, it doesn't say that if you want to make a company, you need to have all these regulations about KYC. It doesn't say. The bank does, but not to make a company. So, and the business registry, they just need to make sure you're a real person. That's it. You need a valid ID. That's the notary who's checking this. But the notary is not going to check if you have your whole story correct. That's not their job. They just need to make sure your signature is correct, okay? And your identity is correct. So basically now you can do what you can do in Switzerland is instead of going to the bank first, is you put Bitcoins on an account, which you dedicate. You say, this is going to be the account of my company. And you go to see the notary, and you go see an accountant, and then you go to the business registry, and you say, I'm registering my company with Bitcoins. So there's about 100 companies which were created like this in Switzerland with Bitcoin and Ether. So there's a drawback, obviously, of course, and the main drawback of this is the volatility factor, is that the accountant or the notary will tell you, well, you need 100,000 francs to build up the company. Bitcoin is very volatile. We'll ask you 30% more. You know? Imagine you've been putting 100,000 Swiss franc 3 days ago, and now you come into the notary, and then it's already down 20%. That's the kind of thing they want to avoid. So it costs you 30% more to do it, but then it's money for the company. So this is an example of a company in Neuchâtel, which is called True Level. It's a friend of mine. And so he put up money for a worth of 100,000, but he put down 89 Ether, this is the copy of the business registry. So you can just look it up. Okay? There are a few companies like this. There's a few companies like this that were built. Okay? And again, here, you limit yourself to exactly what you need. You need to give the data to the registry, the business registry, and to the notary. They're the only one who actually need to know something about you when you're building a company. A bank doesn't need to know. Okay, so you can skip that part now. You're a company, you're an individual, you're paying and you're receiving you're paying or receiving Bitcoin as a payment for invoices. Maybe the phrase is not very nice, but okay. Well, anyway, you're a company. You want to build, you make an invoice, and you make it pay. You can. There's no need to do full KYC on an invoice because in reality, in the real world, in the fiat world, when you're making an invoice with Swiss franc, you're allowed to do. Okay. So some people will tell you, yeah, but it's not Swiss franc. And then you realize that, yeah, but man, you're in Switzerland. In Switzerland, you can go to a shop if you want, and some of the shop at the border, they can put an invoice in euro. Oh yeah, how do they do this? Yeah, because in Switzerland, actually you have a freedom to put the invoice in the currency you want. There is no restriction, so why not Bitcoin? So just make your invoice as priced in Bitcoin. That's possible, or the value roughly about the value. And again, when you are invoicing someone for a service or a good, do you ask for a full KYC? No. You don't ask. You just want to be paid and you give a service. There are some places where you need KYC, you need AML to be. If you are a luxury car dealer, if you're watch or watch or art dealer, then you have those rules. But if you are there, you know that you have to follow But if you're just a consultant and you're building your time, you don't need to KYC the money which in. So that's also a way to do. So the drawback is VAT. VAT, you have to be careful because VAT you have to pay it in Swiss francs. So there's this weird calculation you have to do. But look at all the restaurants. If you pay in euro, they will bill you in euros, but you will see that the VAT is always in Swiss francs. So the VAT is fixed at the moment you pay. So if you invoice larger amount, it is always, you shouldn't say I keep everything in Bitcoin. You should always pay swap for the VAT so that you secure this part. Same for salary. Paying and receiving a salary. What you have to look is not about should my employees be onboarded into a bank or into a broker and be all KYC'd. No, they can receive payments in Bitcoin. This is not a problem. Again, in Switzerland, because in reality we are a multi-currency country, but we're a specific multi-currency country. It's a multi-currency country where Swiss franc has won the game until now. And so 99% of the money which is used in Switzerland is Swiss franc, but there's a lot of others. And what is interesting is that, again, because on the border side, you have a lot of people being paid in euros. So there is a lot of jurisprudence and there was problems and good things about people being paid in euros. Remember 5 years ago, the euro and Swiss franc had a big spike of 10%, okay? And both ways, I don't know, I remember which way, but there was this whole debate about people being paid in euros, and then the Swiss in Basel, they want to change the salaries of the people because they were now earning more, and So there is a very strict rule in Switzerland. If you are paid in any currency, you're allowed as an employee to have a salary, to have the payment which is always adapted to the payment, the standard of living where you are. So, and on a period of 3 months. So basically, the employee, the one who's paying you, your employer, takes the risk of the volatility for 3 months. That's the rule, basically. So in euro, in Swiss franc, it's a bit easier, but sometimes 10% is big. But in Bitcoin, you need to keep this in mind. Let's say someone earns 5,000 francs worth of Bitcoin, you give him Bitcoin. But if suddenly the Bitcoin goes down, actually he's entitled to even to 3 months back to ask you to compensate for the lower volatility. So these are rules, but as long as you know them and you apply them and you work on that, you can pay someone in Bitcoin, no problem. Okay. And you don't need to have full KYC and give it. I mean, it's like in Switzerland, you know that you can employ someone just by saying, hey, you're employed now, I pay you $1,000 every week, and we're good, you know, and you can work for me. You don't need to have a written contract.
Isn't the law, I heard, is that a rumor that you can be paid like 75% in all currencies?
Maybe, I don't know.
25% can be Bitcoin, milk, cheese, or whatever. Because it goes back like a couple of 100 years. You try to pay them just in milk or chocolate or whatever. I think, I have to look it up.
Maybe. Well, with euro, I think you can pay 100% in euros. So today, so there is this case. You know, we are still at the beginning. So there are a lot of people in Switzerland who receive salary or part of the salary in Bitcoin. There are a lot of them. Okay, but no one complained yet. So there was no judge who had to deal with that. So we don't, these kind of things, maybe a judge will say, well, basically it's a currency and we treat it like euro. Maybe another one will say, no, it's an asset and like gold, and then maybe there's some specific rules about this. But for now, I assume it's like a currency, and I don't know because no one complained yet. Okay, maybe someone, I hope for someone to complain once.
You told us that 3 months is like an insurance for the employee.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be a big benefit for him. So I can wait, and if it's go down, come back to you. Please give me the
Yes,
difference.
yeah.
And otherwise, it's going up. So that's the good thing for the employee in each case.
Yeah, no, but that's the point. Of course, it wasn't this rule was thought about by a judge, and he didn't thought about a situation with Bitcoin which has high volatility. So it's a risk you take. I mean, if you employ someone who knows about Bitcoin, usually he won't complain, you know, and he will take the hit and he will appreciate when it goes up. But if you go further into the logic and you have people who don't care about Bitcoin and suddenly you pay them in Bitcoin, they might at one point complain. You know, if they lose half of their spending capabilities in 1 month, they will be like, what? That's a problem. And then the law will be, I mean, the jurisprudence might be against you. But still, what I mean is that it doesn't stop you. You have some constraint, but it doesn't stop you. And you might have other constraints like this one that was just mentioned, that, okay, depending on how the judge will see what Bitcoin is, they might say you are only allowed part of it. Money transfer. Money transfer is actually sending money to someone else. Basically, that's it. Huh? I have value, and I'm giving that value to someone else. And of course, here, money transfer is one of the most regulated space. And it's very funny, in Switzerland, if you say you claim you do money transfer, even for 1 franc, they will want to have a full KYC of the person. And you have to tell who are you sending it to, and they have to keep a trace. So just try, I don't know if you try to go to Western Union to give money, to send money out of the country, they will apply these rules, and here you have to people who do money transfer, and even us, we have to face it. Basically, Bitcoin is made to do money transfer. It is one of the first functions. So basically, just do it yourself, and no one can blame you as an individual or as a company that you're giving money to someone else. You know. As long as you don't hide it in your books if you're a company, or if you are declaring it correctly as a donation or whatever in your tax return if you're in Switzerland, no one can stop you before and can force you to do KYC on the other person and to know more about this person. Okay, so. But of course, if you want someone to help you to do money transfer and to send money the other way around, or to help you convert it again into the other currency to make it easy, no, then people will start asking who you are and doing KYC and asking too much information. So you want to send money to Venezuela, you can just use Bitcoin directly, and then it's up to the person there to change it in her own way. Of course, it's a bit more complicated, and soon, with time, we'll have more people will know more, and they will be happy to take Bitcoin, and then they can change it themselves. But all the solution where you try to hide the fact that Bitcoin is used by sending Swiss franc to whatever in Venezuela, and then Bitcoin is used behind, actually it forces everyone to be KYC'd, because we're still helping people to move money to one place to another. Buying and selling on ATM. So if you looked here, buying and selling Bitcoins on the ATMs, we had to also again go deep into the law. So the law here, it's the Geldwäschereiverordnung, FINMA, GWW FINMA, and I'm just going to have a look up here. Article 21, I said? No. 21. Oh yeah, and as studies, I'm a lawyer, so that's why I go always deep in the law. That's the reason. And then okay, so article, which one did I say? No, I lost my, 51. Okay, so 51 is a very specific article which says, well, you're allowed, it's a section. Yeah, I found it, but I thought, anyway. So, basically, it's an exception. Normally, you should identify anytime there is someone is helping you to make money transfer, money exchange, whatever. You need to provide ID. That's or the KYC. That's the basic rule. But there's exception, and we're always looking for the interesting exception. And in Switzerland, the basic exception is this one: that if you do exchange, there is a limit of 5,000 francs per transaction. That's what the law says. Okay, and this is what a lot of exchanger, even for Swiss franc to euro, they use. If you go to Migros Bank and you change, they will not ask you. Normally, they shouldn't ask you for ID below 5,000 francs. Okay, so that's the rule. So we said, okay, let's use it. Okay, let's use this law. So the first machines, well, we were a bit more conservative, but basically on the machines we could do 5,000 francs for any transaction, and this is what the machine is doing. But then it's still funny because the FINMA came and said, whoa. There is one problem though, is you need to make sure that it's actually a Geldwechsel, okay? And this is where it's interesting, where if you go to Migros Bank, for example, and you take out money of your pocket, you give it there and you take euros back. They have no clue if it is in reality money exchange or something else. Okay, the cashier has no clue. He just sees you in front of him. You give cash out of the pocket and you take back cash. But we don't know if the money belongs to the same person. Okay, there is an assumption that there is only two parties which are involved. There is only two persons. There is the bank, or the cashier, let's say, and the person in front. So it's a two-party relationship. And FINMA says, or the law says, if it's a two-party relationship, like in the change, you don't need to verify the person. If it's a three-party relationship, you give me the money and I give it to someone else, then you need to identify both of them. And what is funny, and this happens in a lot of places in criminal law, in the law in general, is that because it touches tech and IT and digital space, basically instead of assuming that, like if the person comes in front of me, I assume you're alone, so it's only between you and me. The FINMA says you have to prove me that it's a two-way person system. So it's the FINMA itself. They said, well, if the machine prints out a paper wallet, then they can relate to a story they know. It's like a cashier. You go in front of the machine, you put 100 francs, and you take a paper wallet with the money on there, and there's the private key on there. And then they can relate, and they say, yeah, that's fine. This is money exchange, and you can do up to 5,000 francs. And we said, no, but that's too complicated. Why you just want to scan your QR code? That's what Bitcoin is meant to be. We don't want to have a private key going out. It's dangerous. You can lose a private key. You can have a picture taken, whatever. But they said, well, we don't know if the QR code is actually the QR code of the person. So because we don't know, we assume it's someone else. And that's a bit shitty. But so that's why those machines have those paper wallets being printed.
Alexis,
yeah.
Question. In the scenario you mentioned with the Migros Bank, I've experienced that another bank, they didn't exchange my money because I was not a customer of them.
Yes. But that's their policy. They go always, they can go beyond their policy. That's how they choose. But Migros Bank, they make a big business out of this because I know from Geneva, for example, all the frontaliers, the guys who cross the border, they go to Migros Bank. That's like the best prices and everything. So they go with 5,000, all their salaries, boom, like this, and they change it. But that's then it's really their business,
There are other ATMs. Then you can scan the QR code. They have a license. That's a difference, or why?
No. If you so based on our knowledge, okay. If you look all the Bitcoin operators in Switzerland, normally they should print paper wallets. They should. Not the SBB. I don't know why. We don't know why. We don't know why. Normally, what SBB is doing, you would need to have a full identification. FINMA, what they tell the rest of the world of Switzerland, they say, if you do like SBB, normally you should be a fully verified customer of the company. Yeah, but no. No, because we had the same, when we started in 2014 with the first machine, we did exactly like SBB. I mean, actually, SBB did it like us after. We had the phone number, and you can scan the QR code. And FINMA told us no, but SBB, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, but that's still not valid. It's not, no, that's not, in the anti-money laundering law, this is not considered as a full verification. A full verification is there's a bunch of rules, and just having a phone, a Swiss phone, is not valid for this.
I think it's not SVP actually doing that.
No, it's SweetPay. Yes, it's another. Yeah, but still, it's okay. They can do it. So yeah, so here then we managed to do a machine where we say, well, we don't need anything, you know, paper wallet, nothing. We don't need to have we even remove the camera because you don't need to take a picture. You don't need to take a selfie, you don't need to scan anything. And if you put your phone number in there, it's just because for tracking, I mean not for tracking, for if you want to be updated of if you're cashing out, if you're sending Bitcoins to the machine, you want to be updated when your cash out is available, but you can do it without phone number. Okay. Then let's continue. Then we tried.
Sorry, another question. You said per transaction 5,000 Swiss francs.
Yeah.
So I can do many transactions.
The law says 5,000 per transaction. Then it's your problem.
I can do many transactions.
No.
Cash payment is 300,000.
Yeah, but really you have no interest, because if you go online, I mean, all the machines, our machines about 5%. Other machines, SBB is 9%, and others they're between 6 and 9%. And if you go online, even with us, you're like between 0.5 and 1%. If you go higher, you have like zero interest of using this, and then you register and you do KYC. So that's the purpose. I say if you stay low, it's also like small amounts. You can manage your privacy by using those spaces where you can stay low. But if you start making business and big things, then of course at one point you need to register, because you see money going around. Yeah, that's another example. There's a lot of people who want to build payment systems, you know, like prepaid card and you know, like prepaid card or rechargeable cards or everything. And actually, when you look at the law says that you have a lot of space to be able to provide these kind of services without actually requiring a full KYC. You notice that all those Apple Pay cards and everything, they all are limited to 250 francs, and that's a good reason. Let me find this out. It's here. Yeah. No. Yeah. Here you see. So this is a special article for people who want to build system for a payment system, you know, like cards or any things related. And they make the difference between cards or systems that you can, or POS that you can use to pay goods and services, and some are rechargeable, not rechargeable. And you have these weird limits which are there. So some of them are a bit weird because they take into account if you're in Switzerland or not, which for crypto makes it a bit weird. But basically, you can all use this limit, and you have this famous 250 franc limit, which is here, where this is the limit that they use for all those prepaid card that you can buy at the store, and you don't need to give any ID, but still you can pay for a thing. It's a payment service, but there is no, you can use it, and we could do payment cards which are limited to 250 francs, for example, with this. So all these rules you need to know, and it means that you can build up even businesses with these things, which can provide financial privacy to your customers. That's basically the approach that we have. So then we had a tricky, then we went on a really tricky one, and it's still not solved, but we are finding the way out of this, because then we try to say, now that we managed to do the ATMs and we managed to know these rules, we want to do the same thing, but online. We want to be able to buy and sell like an ATM, but online. And that's the so this is where the FINMA came back and say, well, okay, so well, first the story we started, and we say, well, we're buying and selling online. You create an account at Bity, and you send 100 francs, and we'll send you Bitcoins. Okay. And we said first, well, 5,000 francs, it's okay. You know, we can do up to 5,000 francs. And then the FINMA says, yeah, but we really don't know if it's the person. So again, the same story. We really don't know if it's the same person. So please, they said to us, they say, okay, please propose us a way of dealing with that. So we said, yeah, we take the phone number, we take the IP, we take the whatever, all the data we can have, you know, of the person, and then we make sure that this is pretty much unique, and then we can give this person 5,000 without asking for other things like ID and stuff. And they said, no, it's not good enough. And they answered us, no, you have to make them sign a message with their private key. So if you're sending Bitcoins to, if they are sending fiat to you, and then they want you to send crypto to their Bitcoin address, they need to sign a message with their private key showing that they are in control of their key. And I say, okay, let's do that. You know, so it's not easy. And then this is the API we've been building. So I'll just show you. In the future, it's going to be integrated into wallets or into services where the private key is held. But if you don't have a private key, it's a bit complicated. But still, I'll show you that it will be like an ATM, and it's interesting how we made this possible. So the other way around, if you are selling crypto, in Switzerland to a Swiss franc, you can already do it without logging. You can do it here directly without logging in. It won't ask anything special. But what is interesting is to buy. Let's say I want to buy. So here, the only information I request from the user is from which IBAN you are going to send money, and to where Bitcoin address you want me to send your Bitcoins. Okay, and basically those two information I will know anyway, because when you're sending me your euros or your Swiss franc, I will know from which IBAN it comes, and you tell me where you want to send me your money. So let me just pick up an IBAN here. Okay, and then I take a wallet, and so this is Electrum. I take a wallet, and I take a Bitcoin address from this wallet, and I say to Bity, this is where approximately I will receive 0.18 Bitcoin, but yeah, I will send you 200 francs, and I want you to send me this Bitcoin to this address here. Okay, so when I do this, the system is going to say, okay, well, here's a message. It's just text, okay? It doesn't say much, but basically it just says, well, I confirm that this is a transaction just between me and myself, okay? And I'm putting this on my wallet, and I'm the sole owner, because this is what FINMA wants to know. They want to know it's the same person. You're not transferring this to someone else, okay? And you can see that there is an order ID, which is used for support. There is your IBAN. This is my IBAN that I'm going to use. This is my Bitcoin address that I'm going to use. And now I'm going to prove that. So basically, I'm going to copy this message and put it in my Electron. And I'm going to sign. I need a key. Where's my key? Here. You're going to see all my keys. No, it's all hidden. Up, copy, and I'm signing here with my key. I get a signature, and this signature I can paste it here. And once I paste it, because it's the correct one, if I would have chosen another address, wouldn't have failed. It creates an order for me, and it tells me, okay, well, now you can just pay. These are the payment details. You can pay on this bank account. This is our bank account. You send $200 here with this reference number, and we will just pay to your address. That's fine. That's it. Okay. So the idea of this, of course, is to integrate it into wallets. Basically, that's the idea, because in the wallet you have the private key, which is there. So all the thing about signing, you don't need to worry about. I think Toshi is working on this. If you're interested, you can go also here on doc.bity.com, and you can have the details of the API. Okay. So you can also do the other way around. You can sell Bitcoin for. Let me show you. You can sell Bitcoin for euros or Swiss franc, whatever. And here, I need a bit more details. And whoa. Whoop, it's back. Okay. And I need a bit more detail. And then you tell me, yeah, but this is supposed to be KYC free and no need to give name and everything, you know. But in reality, this is the data that the banks need to be able to ship the money. So if I don't have the data about your name and your address and your IBAN, I cannot send the money because the bank will refuse the payment. So these are routing information. And so some people mix sometimes between KYC, which is the full ID documentation, your proof of address, and all the stuff, and actual data which is needed for routing. So if I fill this up, I will just receive a QR code to pay, and then it's gone. So the fees, they're about, you have to look it up there. This is the actual rate. So I think we're between 0.5 and 1%. It's all included there. You don't we don't show it yet. We will show the distinction, because the fees, they're like always evolving within an order. It's not very much fixed.
Which price are you taking? Because
It's our own price. We make it based on our system, because we mix all our machines, our online platform, our different.
the car price, if I want to have 500 Swiss francs Bitcoins,
Yeah.
I say no. When is taken?
So when you sell, for now, today, when you sell crypto to Swiss franc, it's just this price, and that's it. You get, and the opposite, it's when the price is calculated when the money comes in our account. And we will, in the future, we will have a function where we can delay for like 24 hours, and you can choose when you want to do. But it's only when the money is on the bank that you can start doing it. Yeah. There's no.
Possible to have this software supervising? I don't know the name.
So we have it. If you are registered and if you are KYC, then you can have it. But not KYC, we don't do it because there's too much fraud. But yeah, KYC, it works. Okay, so this is an example of, I mean, this is the only example right now of being able to do online exchange in Switzerland without KYC, without accounts. It still works in building, but and we're really on the forefront of the rules. But we had FINMA who made us this suggestion 2 years ago, and we worked on that. We took this opportunity. First, we thought FINMA, why is FINMA asking us to sign a message? And actually, when we thought about it, and we tried to see what are the use cases of people trying to use the API in another way, actually it's meant, with this system of signing, it's really meant for someone who wants to upload his wallet, you know, that's really, or upload or pay from his wallet back to his account. That's the purpose of it. And so that's good. Okay. Yeah, so these are like a lot of small examples. General is stay low, but then how do we, the open question we can have for after, which I propose, is how we can scale this to like a proper economy, because staying low is one possibility, you know, on how to manage your privacy. But if you're building the new digital society, that's not going to work. You know, you can't just have stay low everywhere. And at one point, you need to become the majority and to work on this. So still, we're a society. We have people interacting together, and we need to build up trust, not only digital trust, but here we have great tools like Bitcoin, but we need to build everyday trust between ourselves and the services, and in our physical interaction and in physical life. So the question of identity will always be there, but again, I think we can work on those identity. The next step I want to be able to include in there is to work and to allow, I mean, to show the regulators and the governments that there are two options right now in the crypto world: is break or adapt. I think Switzerland is one of the only place that will be able to adapt, because it always has adapted. But basically, two things which might have really will come through and will allow to build the digital society with privacy built in will be about embracing digital entities in general, which are governed by individuals, which themselves are linked together with zero knowledge proof identities, which can give proofs without exposing any data. And that could be an interesting scenario. We'll see. But I see this being built because I see many initiatives which are business initiative or non-business initiative in those two fields in Switzerland right now, and even some like more advanced ones like Zug, who made this like e-voting system with Uport, for example. That's one example. It goes into that direction. There's a foundation, I'm taking part of it, which is working on digital entities in Geneva. Yes, there is a lab in Trust Square. There's those guys from Decentrum. I know those guys. They're really thinking about those things. I mean, there's a bunch of like work being done that way. So, and that will maybe that's a way, and which when you talk to people in Switzerland who have no clue about what crypto is, but do understand that something is happening. If you talk to them about, we need to work on new forms of companies and new forms of identities, well, they start to listen now, because obviously they had to go through the most difficult part, which was accepting that Bitcoin has value and is a currency, and Libra is helping us to do this. Zero knowledge proof. Sorry, it's. I mean, it's just a buzzword. I just put it there. It's like a bunch of things of tech, which allows you to make identity without giving data and proving it. You know. Okay. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. You have questions?
What about the new law that's coming in Switzerland? Have you already seen the draft and it's changing something, or can you
So directly on those topics that I mentioned, no, not directly. So it's more about the new laws which are touching crypto are more about how to help banks adopt crypto. About is it on balance, off balance, these kind of questions. There is also things about, because the big thing was the ICOs and the token and everything last year, so they made a lot of things, they made some adjustments to make those tokens a bit easier to build, use, whatever, and know a bit where we stand. But really on the basic things about moving money and this and the KYC, the AML on the basic level, There's no much changes there. You know, there was some. There are some changes which might come, especially on the FAF, the Gafi task force. You know, and the international, and the Swiss want to follow there, but. We'll see how it goes, because every time there was already a case a few months ago, it was very recent, where the guy working in the Gafi, the guy from FINMA or from the government working in this international task force, they were like all in the room and they were saying, okay, so how can we improve transparency, make better place, okay? And they were exchanging ideas, and suddenly the Indians told something, and the Swiss were like, oh, that's a great idea. Let's take it back home, you know? And they had a big idea, a nice idea, is that they wanted to force every company, every personne morale, every mortal person, not corporation, but also associations and everything which is non-individual, it would become mandatory to have a bank account. Okay? And the reason of being mandatory is that then the bank would do the KYC and the whole AML knew, and then they would be fully transparent. And there's only one country who does that in the world, it's India. They came with this rule, and the whole banks fought this, and also the whole crypto community said, no way, we don't want to accept this, because now we have companies who are being built without bank accounts, and that's a good thing, you know? We're moving that way. So we're not going to, and the risk of doing this, and the risk, I even wrote them in my contribution, you can read it, it's online. I said, if you do this, then you will criminalize people for not doing something they should not have been doing. I mean, you would criminalize people for for not their wrongdoing. It's a bit weird, because you're building a company by law, and you don't need to have a bank account to build a company, and you are sometimes refused of a bank account if you're in crypto, and then let's say this law appears and you still cannot do a bank account, you cannot have a bank account because you're a crypto company, then you are criminal without being able to actually fulfill the good thing. It doesn't work in law. It doesn't. Yeah. So sometimes you will have these kind of rules that will come in, and we need to fight them back because they break too much things in the common sense on those small levels. And FINMA in reality, they don't want to force people to give an ID every time you pay for coffee. They claim that. We'll see how far they go, but I mean, that's the hope we can work on. Yeah.
Have you heard about this new initiative that companies are no longer allowed to have foreign bank accounts?
No. Why would that? Where?
It's an OECD initiative that claims that companies must have an account in their domestic country.
Okay, I don't know.
Bitcoin would be a great chance for that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Because Bitcoin, I mean, I remember the Finnish government was once asking which country are your Bitcoins, but the question is pretty much useless.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, all of these things, you know, in the reality, then even in Switzerland, you know, FINMA or the regulator, or I mean, most of the bank, they believe today that the laws, regulation apply to the economy, okay? In reality, the proportion that it applies is shrinking. I have this banker who came to see me and says, Alexis, he was talking about Libra because he was really pissed off about Libra and realizing what the value of Bitcoin is by looking at Libra. Very interesting. And then he says, yeah, this is bullshit. Look, when I'm with my kids, I use Revolut. It's easy. No, that works. And yeah, and I say, yeah, but Revolut, you're already outside of the Swiss zone, you know? So every transaction you do here are not regulated by Switzerland. And actually what is happening is that in the country, they don't realize that the more they have strict rules, actually the reality of the efficiency of those rules is touching less and less transactions, because Revolut is in another country which, okay, they follow some rules, but basically all the Swiss who are using Revolut or using Coinbase or whatever, they don't benefit from Swiss rules. And basically they have no guarantee that those guys are going to follow even the rules in their country because you're too far away, you know. So, and you have this the weird thing where rules are getting tighter and tighter and tighter, but actually less and less efficient in reality of how much money it is actually controlling. And Bitcoin is coming to help them to make the shift. So at one point it will have to shift, and they will have to redesign the whole thing, the whole approach, general approach. But that's what I hope. And that's where I hope Switzerland is going to adapt and not break. Okay, I think it's time for drinks. It's hot. No?
So a POS system, it's possible if you work with Bity.com until 5,000?
No. POS is a payment system. So we don't have the level yet, but basically it will, and it's not possible immediately right now. Technically it's not done. A few months will do. There's going to be two options. One option is that you are a verified merchant with us, and then you can use the POS for your customer. But because you are a merchant, we don't need to. These guys are your clients. Then you do whatever you want. But I know who you are, and I know what's your business. So that's version 1. And then hopefully we're going to make a lower version, which is without KYC, that you can do by yourself. But then we will limit it, but with some other amounts. Maybe 5,000, that will be to be defined still. In the API, the timeline is about, we hope, 3 months, something like this, yeah.
But you know already the limit for the stay low? What does it
No,
mean?
but it's one of those articles I have to like. But it's yeah, because they made this weird. I told you they made this weird thing about being in Switzerland, not being in Switzerland. So if you're a Swiss merchant, it's higher. If you're a non-Swiss merchant, it should be lower. So I have to define the right thing. But
So
basically,
it would be possible to have let's say in a wallet, that this function would be like a POS?
yes, and then it's limited to. I mean, one of the limit is 1,000 francs per transaction, for example. That will be it, and you'll be limited for that.
The exchange in the wallet itself, you can put like 500 Swiss francs, changing in Bitcoins, and then you can pay.
No. Then it will actually. Then you can invoice someone in Bitcoin or in euros. But
Let's
then,
say I have 500 Swiss francs to pay.
yes,
I want to pay it in Bitcoins.
yes,
Then I have a wallet with your API,
yes.
and then the exchange is in the wallet, and then it's going through your system. It's not working.
Oh no, this is different. You are not a merchant. You are a user who wants to use me to pay for invoices.
Yeah.
That's possible, but you need to be registered with me, like your e-banking. But this is okay. But if you are the merchant, if you are a shop, and you're registered, and if you are a shop, then you can be registered with me, and then you can pay the shop directly. And the shop wants to get Bitcoin, but in the end get Swiss franc. I will give it the Swiss franc to the person, okay? But I don't need to KYC you, and only need to KYC the merchant, okay? And then I will make. I hope I can make a special version for the merchant, which allows him without KYC, but with limited amounts, small amounts. You know, there's $1,000, whatever, to use the POS without KYC. And that would be good for a bar or something, you know, so people who want to try out to have a POS but without hassle.
This POS you will make an own app, or?
No. It's we will only provide the API. So we have some partners which are already building POS, but then it's open to use for everyone. So the idea with the API is that if you can just use it, that's okay. And if you are integrating into an application, whatever, and you want to get benefit out of it, you know, you want to get a reversal fee, then you need to be registered with us. That's how it works. Yeah. Otherwise, you can use it, but that's it.